Data structures are just objects that store and organize your data. Knowing which one to reach for is what separates beginners from true architects. For ways to think about them, the modular bin for dynamic items. The sealed box for fixed records. The filter for unique elements. The vault for rapid key-value lookups. Here's the master blueprint. Lists, tuples, sets, dictionaries, and strings, compared by mutability, whether they keep order, and whether they allow duplicates. For ordered types, strings, lists, tuples, Python gives you an indexing train. Count from the front starting at 0. Or, uniquely to Python, count from the back starting at -1 to slice out exactly the section you need. Lists first, are dynamic, modular bins. Mutable. Ordered. Duplicates allowed. They'll happily store mixed data types, even nested lists inside lists. And because they're dynamic, you mutate them live, add, remove, change, on the fly. Let's see this in action. We start with a simple list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Printing it out confirms our starting point. Now watch, we target the first element, index 0, and change it to 10. The list mutates instantly. There it is, 10 has replaced the 1 at the front. Next, we call append to add 6 to the end of the list. 6 is tacked on, right where we'd expect. Now let's remove a specific value, 3. Notice this searches for the value itself, not a position. 3 is gone, and everything shifts to fill the gap. Here's a powerful one, deleting a slice. We target index 1 through 3, removing that whole chunk in one move. 2 elements just vanished in a single line of code. Finally, concatenation. We add a fresh list, 6, 7, 8, onto the end of our existing one. And there's our final result, a brand new list, built entirely from live, real-time changes. Tuples, sealed glass boxes. Same shape as a list, but immutable. Once created, locked. That's your integrity guarantee. Watch the syntax trap though, a single element tuple needs a trailing comma, or it's not a tuple at all. Let's lock some data down. We create a tuple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, using parentheses instead of square brackets. Printing confirms it, same look as a list, but this one's sealed shut. Now here's the trap. We want a tuple with just one element, the number 1. But if you just write it in parentheses alone, Python won't read it as a tuple at all. You need that trailing comma. Print it, and there's our single element tuple, comma and all. Since we can't mutate a tuple, we work with it instead. Count tells us how many times a value appears here, how many 2's are in our tuple. 1. Straightforward. And index tells us where a value lives. We ask for the position of 3. 2, because remember, counting starts at 0. Locked, safe, and still fully queryable. Tuples also pack a superpower, packing and unpacking, assigning multiple variables in one line. Let's set up 3 separate variables, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. Now watch the magic. We pack all 3 straight into a single tuple, no parentheses even required, Python handles it for us. Print it, and there they are, bundled together as 1, 2, 3. Now let's reverse it. In one line, we unpack that tuple straight back into 3 variables, A, B, and C, all at once. Print A. 1. Print B. 2. Print C. 3. One line to pack, one line to unpack. That's the tuple superpower. Sets, deduplication filters, mathematical engines. Unordered. Unique only. This is what makes them perfect for union, intersection, and difference, real set math, built in. Sets are deduplication filters. Here's a list with some repeats, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Now we pour it through a set. Watch what happens, every duplicate gets filtered out instantly. 1, 2, 3. Clean, unique, no repeats survive. But sets aren't just filters, they're mathematical engines too. Let's define 2 of them. Set 1 holds 1, 2, 3. Set 2 holds 2, 3, 4. Union combines everything unique from both sets into one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every value shows up, but only once. Intersection keeps only what exists in both, the overlap. Just 2 and 3, the values living in both sets survive, everything else gets dropped. Difference keeps what's in the first set, but strips out anything shared with the second. Only 1 is left, because 2 and 3 exist in both sets, so they're removed. And symmetric difference flips that, it keeps everything that's not shared, from either side. That leaves 1 and 4, the values unique to each set, with the overlap thrown out entirely. For operations, 1 data structure, straight out of set theory. Here are some other operations in practice. Let's put this to work. We define 2 sets, set 1, with 1 through 5, and set 2, with 4 through 8. Sets shine at lookup speed. We ask, is 3 in set 1? True, and it happens almost instantly, no matter how large the set grows. Now let's mutate the sets themselves. We add 6 to set 1. Print it, and 6 joins the set, right alongside the rest. Here's something worth noting, what happens if we try to add a value that's already in the set? Let's add 1 again. Print it, and nothing changes. Sets only care about uniqueness, so adding a duplicate is simply ignored, no error, no second copy. Now we remove 7 from set 2. Print it, and 7's gone. Both sets update live, proof that sets aren't just for math, they're fully dynamic too. Dictionaries, high-speed vaults. Forget numerical indexes, these are indexed by unique keys mapped to values. Configs, caching, user profiles, this is their home turf. Access, modify, delete instantly, or iterate through keys and values directly. Let's open the vault. We create a dictionary with 3 keys, name, age, and city, each pointing to its own value. To pull something out, we access by key. We ask for name. Alice, straight from the vault, no searching required. But there's a safer way to look things up. Instead of square brackets, we use get, asking for age. 30, and get has a hidden superpower, if the key doesn't exist, it won't crash your program, it just returns nothing instead. Now let's modify the vault. We add a brand new key, gender, set to male. Print it, and there's our updated dictionary, for keys deep now. Time to delete. We remove the city key entirely. Print it, and city's gone, without disturbing anything else in the vault. Finally, let's look at the vault from 3 different angles. First, keys. Every key, on its own. Name, age, gender. Just the labels. Next, values. Every value, on its own. Alice, 30, male. Just the contents. And items. Keys and values, paired together. Every key matched with its value, ready to loop through however you need. That's the vault, fast access, safe lookups, and full control over what goes in and out. Strings, immutable threads of characters. Still sequences though, so concatenation, repetition, and indexing all apply. And notice how formatting evolved. Modern Python leans hard on f-strings for clean, readable variable injection. Strings are immutable threads of characters. Let's thread together some characters. We create a string, Python. Print it, and there's our thread, 6 characters long. Since strings are sequences, indexing works just like a list. We grab the first character, index 0. P, the very start of the thread. Now from the back, index -1. N, the last character, no counting required. Let's slice a section, index 0 through 3. Pyt, a clean cut straight out of the thread. Strings also support concatenation. We add a new word onto the end. Python rocks, 2 threads stitched into 1. And repetition, multiply the string by 2. Python, the entire thread, doubled. Now here's where it gets interesting, how we actually build strings with variables. This is the evolution of string formatting. The old style, %s formatting. Name is Alice, it works, but it's clunky. Then came the format method. Name is Alice, cleaner, but still a bit wordy. And finally, modern Python, f-strings. Variables injected directly inside the string itself. Name is Alice, and age is 30, clean, readable, and it's what modern Python leans on every single time. One more trade-off before we wrap. Lists are your default, they're great. But storing millions of identical numeric values? Python's array module gives you a strictly homogeneous, memory-efficient alternative. Let's compare our default tool against a specialist. First, a list, mixing an integer, a string, and a float, all in one bin. Print it, flexible, mixed types, no complaints. This is your default choice, every time. But what if you're storing millions of the same type, just numbers? That's where array comes in. We import it and specify I, telling Python these are strictly integers. Print it, looks similar to a list, but under the hood, it's strictly homogeneous and far more memory efficient. Let's put it through its paces. First, traversing, looping through every value. 1 through 5, in order. Searching, where does the value 3 live? Index 2. Inserting, we drop 10 in at position 2. And there it is, wedged right in. Deleting, we remove that 10 again. Back to our original 5 values. Now sorting, here's the catch. Arrays don't have a built-in sort method like lists do. So we rebuild it, using Python's sorted function, in reverse. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sorted, just repackaged into a new array. Same operations as a list, traversing, searching, inserting, deleting, sorting, just optimized for scale. So, decision time. Need lookup by a custom ID. Dictionary. Need to kill duplicates. Set. Millions of numbers. Array. Otherwise, list for dynamic data, tuple if it should never change. That's the architecture. Happy architecting. If you found this helpful and want to master Python from the ground up, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching.